You know what time it is. It's time for some high tea. We've got a lot to talk about, and we're going to knock that pot over. I'm April Ryan, your host of the Tea with April, and today I am sipping. What am I sipping? I'm sipping mullein, dandelion root, and what else? Sour sop, and also ginger and turmeric. That's a lot in one cup. But you know what? I love my tea, and I hope you like it too. This is a time to relax if you can in this moment and talk about everything that's going on in this nation and around the globe. There's a lot going on. Today was a big day. And I know we all heard or watched. I watched the Jack Smith hearing by the Judiciary Committee on Capitol Hill. And then there was also at the National Press Club a convening of civil rights leaders. They had a topic called demand diversity. We're going to get into that in a minute with our trending topics. We also have on the show Nana Gyamfi. She is an advocate for Haitian migrants, right? But she's also an advocate for African migrants as well. And we're going to talk about what's happening from her perspective and what she's seeing and hearing on the ground in Minnesota. We're not finished with Minnesota at all. And then speaking of Minnesota, we have Chicago Congresswoman Robin Kelly, who, guess what, is working up articles of impeachment against Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, because of all that has been simmering and finally what happened in Minnesota. So today our focus is on what's happening in the nation, what's happening that impacts us, right? In this moment on January 22nd. Can you believe with, we're almost finished with January, almost finished. And really less than 10 days. Think about this. We have uh, January 30th that could actually be the deciding vote day or deciding day, if you will, for another shutdown or if the government is going to be funded. There's still some appropriations bills that are out there that need to be funded. And I was just reading something recently from Congressman Bobby Scott of Virginia. He is very upset that with this appropriations bill as it relates to Homeland Security and things of that nature, he says they never had hearings on cuts or additions, etc., on what the president wants and what the Republican leaders want in appropriations for immigration, for securing this nation, etc. So we've got a lot to talk about. So let's start. I want to start with this hearing today. Today, Jack Smith, the special prosecutor, today in the House Judiciary Committee hearing, he was in the spotlight. He finally gave the information about his investigation on Donald John Trump, January 6th to be exact. It was high theater. It was high theater. Now, mind you, Jack Smith was asked several questions. He was asked, will Trump try to go after you? Smith says yes. Donald Trump was live tweeting on Truth Social while Jack Smith was in the hot seat for about 5 hours or so. Also, he did not answer when Georgia Congressman Hank Johnson said, will you try to retry or will you try to go after Trump to try to put him on the stand, etc., when he's out of office? Jack Smith never said a word. He never said, well, he said he didn't want to acknowledge it. He didn't say a word on that really about whether he would try to retry him. But the question is, will Jack Smith really have the chance to do that because Donald John Trump wants to go after Jack Smith? So, and there is a lot of drama with this. Remember, 5 years ago, January 6th, remember 5 years ago, we have never seen what we saw in the modern age for a president to say, I'm with you. I'm going to walk down there with you. He never did. You know why Donald Trump didn't walk to the Capitol and go to the Capitol with him? Because he has to be invited by the speaker. He has to be invited to the Capitol to come in and do whatever, to speak or what have you. He has to be invited. He wasn't invited. Now, remember, for the State of the Union addresses. He has to be invited. So he lied to those who went with bear spray, bike racks, clubs, etc., maps of what's what and where in the US Capitol. Donald John Trump did not go. So, in the midst of all of that melee, in the midst of all of that melee, the group that saved the democracy were the Capitol Police, policing agents. And Michael Fanone, who was one of the police officers who was there that day, got into an altercation with one of the conspiracy theorists about January 6th. And it took our dear Harry Dunn, another former Capitol Police officer, to pull him back. Guys, I want you to see some of what was going on. I want you to see some of what was going on today in the House Judiciary Committee hearing on Capitol Hill in this testimony by Jack Smith. Take a look.
As I testify before the committee today, I want to be clear. I stand by my decisions as special counsel, including the decision to bring charges against President Trump. Our investigation developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in criminal activity. If asked whether to prosecute a former president based on the same facts today, I would do so regardless of whether that president was a Democrat or a Republican. No one should be above the law in this country, and the law required that he be held to account, so that is what I did.
No one should be above the law. No one should be above the law. Oh my gosh. But we are here today. Donald John Trump, how many times has he been impeached? How many counts has he been convicted on? He's a convicted president, and he is a president. He is convicted, impeached, and he's president. So I beg to differ. There is at least one person above the law in this nation. It shouldn't be. The rule of law has been broken, skirted around, etc. But remember, what Jack Smith was trying to do was give an account. The first time he officially gave an account in a hearing. This was not testimony, this was a hearing. And it was the first time he gave his account. But think about this. You had Republicans on January 6th who ran for their lives along with Democrats, trying to say it was a lie, trying to change the dynamic, change the true narrative, and talking about who won the election. I'm like, what happened was real. Republicans and Democrats were both running for safety and very afraid. They may sit in the Judiciary Committee today and say, oh, this is not that, and I don't know the president, but I know this happened. The truth is, Donald Trump said, I will be with you. And many of those who were there said, I came because the president said, come. That's not myth, that's not conjecture, that's fact. And then all the histrionics today makes no sense. Makes no sense. But think about this again, Democrats wanted this on the record. You had people like Jasmine Crockett, who's in the House Judiciary Committee asking questions. You had Congresswoman Jayapal. You had Congresswoman Kamala Dove on the Democratic side. You had Congressman Hank Johnson in there asking questions. But you had Republicans changing the facts. And that's something that we have to, or changing the narrative of the truth. That's something that we have to really grasp and deal with every day in this nation. The truth of the matter. That's why we are here sipping tea, and the contrarians are a major community. So there's another big event today at the Press Club. Another big event at the National Press Club. It was the roundtable convened by the National Urban League called Demand Diversity. And some of the points that were highlighted, Black unemployment has reversed historic gains and now stands steady, double the national rate, with Black women disproportionately pushed out of the workforce. Over $400 billion has shifted away from healthcare programs that are serving everyday families, while wealth of fewer than 1,000 US billionaires now nearly doubles the combined wealth of the bottom half of American households. That's crazy. That's out of control. So, with that said, I want to go to one of the panelists that was there today. Her name is Erin Haynes. She's the president of the National Association of Black Journalists, an organization that I'm a member of, the organization that became the Journalist of the Year of in 2017. And she speaks to some of this about journalism, Black people in media. In 1968, she rattled off some stats. There was only 5% of Black people in media, only 5%. And guess what? Today, in 2026, about 6%. Take a look at what Aaron has to say.
When leaders ignore overwhelming public support for equal opportunity, the consequences are real. Trust erodes, institutions lose legitimacy, communities disengage, and journalism suffers. Because when diversity is dismissed as optional, credibility becomes collateral damage. And this is something that should concern and alarm all Americans. We're seeing this play out right now. Journalists doing their jobs, covering protests, documenting government action, bearing witness in moments of public tension, are increasingly having their credibility challenged and their safety threatened. Recent public warnings aimed at journalists like Don Lemon for covering a protest should concern everyone who believes in a free and independent press. For Black journalists, we know that the stakes are high. We are often on the front lines covering policing, immigration enforcement, civil rights, and systemic inequality, the very places where accountability is most needed.
The very place where accountability is most needed. The very place where accountability is most needed. Now, when she goes to Don Lemon, a judge today refused to charge independent journalist Don Lemon for the actions he's covering news last Sunday in Minnesota as he was following members of Operation Pullout into a church where an alleged ICE high-ranking official was a pastor of. It was called Operation Pullout. Two activist leaders were arrested. Nikema Levy Armstrong was arrested, but again, a judge refused to charge Don Lemon. And I'm glad because you know what? They want to call us activists, again, changing the narrative. We're not activists. We're telling you what they don't want you to see. That's what it is. And Donald Trump and Pam Bondi wanted Don Lemon. They wanted these activists, right? And this is exactly what Jack Smith is saying. They're going to go after him as well. We've seen it. We've seen it with James Comey. We've seen it with Tish James. And we're going to talk about Lisa Cook a little later on. But we've seen it. So I want to start off our guest conversation with Nana Gyamfi, the executive director of Black Alliance for Just Immigration. She has some stories about what's on the ground in Minnesota right now. Nana, thank you for joining. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's difficult times, but it's
Yeah.
great that we have you. Great that we have you to
Um,
help keep us on tap, keep us on focus, and make sure that people know what they need to know.
well, you're such a good friend, and you were telling me, you were telling me earlier about what's happening in Minnesota. Don gave us a bird's eye view Sunday. They scared him. They wanted him out because they were going to charge him with so many different things. But thank God that judge refused because of the First Amendment, freedom of the press. But what are you hearing on the ground? Because we understand is that they're going after uh, Somali refugees, Somali Americans, and maybe even other Africans, not just Somalis. Tell me about that.
Absolutely. I think I want to level set first to remind people why is this president, why is this regime so focused on Minneapolis? Because we always know it's about retaliation, right? We always know that it's about revenge. And Minneapolis for them represents this place where you really have a certain kind of Black power that angers them. So when
Mm,
they think of Minneapolis, they think of George Floyd protests. They think of the start of the protests that went around the world. It's one of the largest protest movements in the history, right? And so he sees that as racial justice, the wokeness, getting those white
mm,
folks and allies out there with Black people. And he also sees these Black immigrants, in particular Somalis. He is fixated on Representative Omar in a way that is actually frightening. He
That's
brings
true.
her up at everything. Did something with the economic summit and brought her up. And why did they go into in Minneapolis, April? If you remember, they said they had to go into Minneapolis because of some alleged Somali fraud. And so that was the basis for them going in. And I think it's important to bring that up because that's kind of being disappeared in the story. So initially,
Mm.
people were on it. They were talking about Somali immigrants. And of course, it's not just Somali folks, it's Liberians, it's Ghanaians, it's Nigerians, it's Haitians, it's Kenyans that are also being impacted in big
So wait a
ways.
minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. And this is because this is the browning of America. This is not just immigration. This is getting brown folks like that's what you're kind of talking about too, right? It's more
Absolutely.
about the browning of America that they don't like, especially at a time when President Trump said, what did he say to the New York Times? He said that white people have had a hard time because of civil rights, the civil rights movement. Well, we are in the civil rights movement now, so he's trying to move brown and black folks out. So let's talk
Absolutely.
about that.
And we know that because it's a racial, and we know it's a racial issue because of how the lines are falling. One of the things we talk about as BAJI, Black Alliance for Just Immigration, is that this is not something that is about criminality because they are grabbing people regardless of whether they've even had contact with the police before. For so many of these people, the body snatchers, as we call them, who are invading our cities, are the first law enforcement they're even dealing with in this way, right? It's not about documentation. They're picking up people who are documented. They're picking up people with green cards. It's not about citizenship. They're picking up citizens, people that were born in this country, people who are African American, people who are Latinx American, people who are, who have all the documents they're supposed to have that
Wow.
show that they are citizens of this country. How are they deciding how to stop people? It's about race. We know they ended Ukrainian TPS. Raise your hand, think in your mind. Have you ever seen them pulling over Ukrainians? Are you seeing that? Is it because the Ukrainians disappeared and went back to Ukraine?
So I got one better for you. Remember,
Mm,
remember earlier last year? Dang, it's 2026. Remember last year when I broke the story talking about how they were going after people, Brazilians and other kind of people over in Martha's Vineyard? They never
yes,
went against the Eastern Europeans who came over there
right,
to work on their work visas. Nothing
right.
like that. Yeah.
Nothing like that. And we see that. So W.E.B. Du Bois teaches us that when we see something that is falling disproportionately upon non-white people, that we need to recognize that as racial injustice, right? That
Yeah.
it is a race issue. And in this country, in the United States, when it's a race issue, what that really means is that at its core, it's about Black people and
Mm.
anti-Blackness, regardless of citizenship, right?
And this
And
is
we
not
see
race
that
baiting, y'all.
everywhere.
This is fact. This is not race baiting. This is fact.
This is fact. And so we have to be clear about that. We've seen it again and again. When they first were going after folks claiming it was a war on drugs, they said, "Oh, this is not about race. This is about the fact that we've got these drug dealers and we got to get them." And mysteriously, all the drug dealers happen to be Black and brown and Southeast Asian, mysteriously, when we knew that that wasn't the case. And so many of our people, unfortunately, said, "Well, that's not me, so I'm okay." And then we looked up, and all of our family members and so many of our neighbors were all caught up in this mass incarceration system.
So
When,
Rosemary,
go
go ahead. I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
When HIV was hitting the communities, people said, "Oh, that's gay people. That's the white gay man. That's the this, that's the that." Next thing we knew, it was Black women, middle-aged Black women, having the disproportionate numbers of folks with HIV when we were talking about the 90s and the early 2000s. We cannot miss the mark on this. If we try to think of this as immigration, as nationality, as documentation and criminality, instead of what it is, which is race, Black folks, in particular Black Americans, are going to look up and find themselves immigrants in their own country, being told, just for you, April, just pay $50,000 per family member, and you too can be a citizen of the United States, particularly once they get rid of this birthright citizenship, if we don't get clear.
Rosemary Duffy from the chat says glaring racism. Denise says they are picking up Native Americans too. Come on now.
Come on now. Where are
That's
they supposed to go? This is their
This
place.
is their home.
This
And
is
that's
their
what we
place.
don't. We are a nation of natives, Native Americans, migrants, and slaves. Don't let anybody tell you that they are the ones in charge if they are, as the natives say, the white man that came. It was Native Americans first, then the migrants, then the slaves. We are not a nation of Donald Trump's people saying, this is our country. This is the Native Americans' country, if we want to tell the truth and shame the devil, but I'm not going there. Um, Leslie says, if you need to try to intimidate and brutalize, then you are weak at your core.
Mhm.
That's who everyone in this administration is. Ellen says it does not make sense, but does anything connected to Trump? We need to understand why these Republicans are willing to tell the emperor his new clothes are beautiful. I don't want to see his clothes. I don't want to see him because
No, I don't want to
naked
see
Trump. No, no,
naked, clothed,
no,
leave it
Lord,
all alone.
no.
I
Yeah,
want to make this point, April,
yeah.
that when you think about Donald Trump is the child of immigrants on one side and the
Yes.
grandchild of immigrants on the other side. And so again, there are people that these body snatchers are going after based upon what the regime has said, whose roots in this country are older than the people in his regime. They're older than Cash Patel's roots. They're older than, right? We can do a whole, including Donald Trump, we can do a whole list of
Genealogy.
people.
Yeah.
Stephen Miller, his people are immigrants.
How about that? The
April,
mastermind of this mess.
yeah, your ancestors have been in this country longer than these people sitting up here in this regime asking you to carry a passport or a birth certificate that they're going to steal or tear up anyway to prove that you are a citizen.
Amy Callis says we're all immigrants here. Yep, that's true. Susan says just awful. It's a race issue and we will fight against it again and again. Thank you, Susan. So, in the midst of all of this, you've got something coming out next week that I was very excited to hear. Stop the invasion of the body snatchers and what tell me what's going. I mean, because you guys are coming out with a campaign next week, and you also talked about your fight against ICE, and you guys are targeting a major corporation with this. Tell me.
Absolutely. So what we want to have clear, and April, again, another reason why we love you, we love us some April, is that you help to clarify for folks. This is not just ICE. This is not immigration enforcement. This is the whole alphabet soup. That's why we call them the body snatchers. I
Mm,
live in Los Angeles. This is where these invasions started, and everyone is out there. FBI, DEA, ATF, Postal Police,
yes,
IRS.
yes.
Sometimes the local police, for example, in Houston and some other places in the South, you have more local police involved. And so when they do these invasions and they bring people in this case, remember they brought 2,000 more in from New Orleans to Minnesota. Where do they stay? They don't live in Minneapolis. So
Where
where are
do
they
they
staying?
stay? Where are
They
they
stay in
staying?
hotels. Okay.
Mm,
And so the hotels are forcing workers, most of whom are Black, Brown, Asian, and Native American, to tuck the body snatchers in at night. Let me repeat that. There are people
oh, somebody
demanding
just called out the name of somebody just called out the name. Education is a lamp just called out the name of the hotel chain.
that we're targeting, right?
Yeah.
Because Hilton is who we are putting the pressure on. We've put the pressure as community on Target because they said it. They said, pick me. We gonna make it clear we're against DEI. Pick me. Home Depot. We said we're putting commercial pressure and boycotting them because
And
they
Home Depot
said
does support Donald Trump.
absolutely. And they said, pick me because we are going to work directly with the body snatchers to allow you to chase the people down the aisles of the Home Depot like you chasing at people that have escaped from the plantation, right? So they said, pick me. And you know who else said, pick me?
Who?
Hilton. Hilton. Hilton has so many chains and franchises under it. Hampton Inn, for example. And
Mm.
what in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, there was a Hampton Inn that did what all these other Hiltons in these invaded cities has not done because Hilton is making money They donate money to Trump. They're friends of Trump and donors, but they're making money off of all of these body snatchers in cities all over the country. And there was a franchise, a Hampton Inn in Minneapolis, that said, we are not going to actually take the reservations of these body snatchers. We are saying no, right?
Yeah.
Fox Hills got a hold of it, DHS got a hold of it, and Hilton, the corporate, went on, live in writing and said, "Oh, no, 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 that's not our policy. That's against our values. It is against our values to refuse the body snatchers." That's what they said. I'm not saying that. They said that out of their own mouths. They said, "We will talk to that franchise and we will resolve this." The following day, April, they issued a statement, Hilton did, saying, "We have dropped them." So they dropped the franchise, okay?
Yeah.
And what we are saying is, we have dropped you.
Mm.
We are demanding that you refuse to shelter the body snatchers, to feed them, to
The
tuck them
body
in at
snatchers.
night. And if you don't, and as long as you don't, we will not be reserving any spaces with you and continue to support those who are disrupting with pots, pans, whistles, drums, because no one should be resting. And certainly we should not be paying people who are going to turn around and snatch people out of cars, throw those bombs, the gas
Tear
bombs
gas.
into
Yeah.
cars where 6-month-olds are, and shoot people in the face. Absolutely not. You want to
So,
support that? We will
yeah.
not support you.
And and let's be honest, tell the truth and shame the devil. You got a lot of Proud Boys. The head of the
Mm.
Proud Boys is now in ICE.
Hmm.
Got out of jail
Absolutely.
and now in ICE. Okay. Let's be honest. These people espouse this anti-race, well, this racism theory of we're better than you. And think about it. If you're predisposed to thinking that you're better than me, how are you gonna treat me? Well, you're
Absolutely.
not going to give me any kind of wonderful greeting. And right now, there is an attempt to stop these warrants. These ICE agents could just come into your house. I'm gonna tell you something. That's not good. And think about this. I was watching, I peruse social all the time. I saw this young man. He was of color. I don't know
Mhm.
what culture he's from
Nationality.
or
Right.
nationality he's from. But he told ICE they were trying to gas him. He said, "No, you're getting out of here. You're getting out of here." He said, "I don't want you here." And they just looked, and then all the cameras were around. But one thing that my team and I talked about this morning, the fact that down in Atlanta, they got all those new ICE cars coming down, and it has ICE on it. I like that better than driving around in a car you don't know that's a government car, but at least we know when they're coming. So I like that.
Well, that's part of, this is what's interesting, is that there's always this subterfuge. And that's why, again, April, it's really important for us to understand that what ICE is doing right now, what Customs and Border Protection is doing right now, CBP, is
Mhm.
literally being used as the tip of the spear to expand the police state that already existed. And, I know it's controversial for people, but when you have police that are getting up and saying, police would never do that, that's a lie. That's why we had a whole Black Lives Matter movement. That's why the Black Panther Party existed. No, police also bust into people's houses, when they don't have warrants. Police also torment and violate people. The difference is that we know who they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got a badge number. They usually don't have masks on. They've got the car that we can identify with the car number. It doesn't stop them from their violence against Black people, but it gives us the opportunity for them to have consequences, right? To them to have some level of accountability. What these folks, the regime is doing, is saying, we're taking all of that off. And you best believe that police are going to follow suit, because they're doing it right now, right next to ICE, right next to CBP. And even if people abolish ICE, which we hope that of course happens, and we're pushing for that, if it doesn't help us if now those same Proud Boys, those same people just expand the regular police force or the federal police force, more importantly, under this regime. And now they become the people that are coming after Don Lemon, April Ryan, Nana Gyamfi, Nikema Levy Armstrong, and others, right? That is not what we're looking for. We actually need a totally different way of addressing immigration, of
Yeah.
addressing criminalization, where we recognize that until racial justice is achieved in this country, that we are all in danger.
And you've been pushing for a new way to have immigration dealt with in this country for a long time. And it's not just in this Trump administration. You've been in various administrations, so you're not new to this. You're true to this. So OFAB says here in Maine, they're going after people on the street based on the color of their skin and figuring out who they are after. Profiling. Katie says, I think we are on the precipice of something very powerful happening in Minneapolis. They are fighting and resisting. It's not just Minneapolis, it's the Twin Cities and the whole state. That's the thing. It's the entire state, guys. And then Laura says, never ever using Hilton again, full stop. Come on, Laura, I hear you. Now, but here, and when we talk about Target, we talk about Target again. Target, right? That little red bullseye. Target, I know, right? Target is actually located, it's headquartered in where?
Minneapolis. It comes out of Minneapolis.
And people are very upset that they're not saying anything, they're not doing anything. And I'm going to be real honest with you, guys, Target has a lot of Black people in their front office, in their head management. They do. And people, I was like, why don't they talk about this? Because they're getting hit hard. But someone said, yeah, they're not saying it because Donald Trump is the president and they might get, something bad happen, or he might just do something to them to make them break. I mean, they're breaking now. Their numbers have dropped on the stock exchange. They're having a hard time. I don't know how Target's gonna survive this because they keep getting hit one time after another.
Well, how they survive it, April, is that they do the right thing by the people. Because this is one thing, we have to reach into our history. And when I say our history, I'm talking about the history of Black people in this country. I'm talking about the history that some of us bring as Black people from our home countries. We must stand up together. We must be together and pull together. That's what you see in Minnesota.
Yeah.
If you polled the people in Minnesota, they may not even have the same views about everything, right? Whether it be immigration, whether it be policing. But let me tell you what they do agree on. You are not coming to snatch my neighbor. You are not coming to snatch our teachers. You are not coming to snatch my kids' friends. You are not coming to snatch my coworker. You are not going to separate us from our community members. And that's the attitude that we need to have, be ye attorneys, be ye journalists, be we in the front office of Target, that this has to become something where we say, no, because how you act right now is how you would act if they decided tomorrow that Black people have no rights, that white people need respect, and try to drag people back into slavery. We already know, we can name some of the people, that there will be Black people who are like, well, can't do nothing about it. I don't want to die. But we don't want to be those people. We don't want to be those people.
So listen, I got you on here. We're going to have a surprise for you in a minute, I believe. But really fast, I wanted to talk to you before all of this Minnesota thing happened about the TPS situation.
Yes.
And I believe, what's going on with TPS and the Haitians and others? And I think Congresswoman Robin Kelly is going to join us with this as well. We're going to let you answer and see you out and bring her in. So tell me about TPS.
So with Haitian TPS, 300,000 people, Haitians on TPS, temporary protective status. Of course, this administration has ended their temporary protective status, as well as the temporary protective status of Sudan, Somalia, and others. You know, April, that Baji has been a supporter of temporary protective status, but a pusher for permanent status. Yes. And so there was a press conference that happened today that Baji was fortunate, along with others, to be a part of. And what we are pushing for is not looking to the White House. I know some people do that, and that's okay, but it's like, that's like, dear President Trump is like saying dear Hitler or dear Andrew Jackson and the rest. We're really looking at Congress, and we're saying, if you remember, April, the Liberians got a program. There were Liberians that were on temporary program, and they got a pathway to citizenship. One of the only people that got a pathway, but because there were black people, no one but black people cared about it. Well, we're saying that Haitians should get the same thing. An actual program, like the Liberian program, it was called LRIF, the Liberian Refugee Immigration Fairness. Haitians should get a program like that that gives them a pathway to citizenship, and we're making that call. Our people, our siblings, they are supposed to be here. That is what's fair, given the condition of their country, given the U.S. involvement in the condition of that country, and given the fact that they are part of this country. And to now try to tell them that they are going to be undocumented and deportable by the body snatchers is absolutely ridiculous. So we're
Congresswoman.
supportive of Representative Presley and what she's putting forward, along with Representative Kelly, and we're also saying that Congress, we need LRIF for Haitians.
So Congresswoman Robin Kelly of Chicago, who is in the news, and I'm so glad that you came to join us. We have Nana Gyamfi, the executive director of the Black Alliance for Just Immigration. What do you have to say to her about that? Because you were listening, and part of what you are doing is holding Kristi Noem, working to hold Kristi Noem accountable on this immigration thing that's been simmering for a while. What do you have to say to Nana as we say goodbye to Nana?
Well, as you said, we have needed immigration reform long time ago before all of this has even happened. And she's right. We can't, they're picking and choosing who's okay to come to this country. And the people with a little melanin to them, they're not okay to come to this country. He wants the white South Africans or the Scandinavians, but we have got to do more. We have got to do more for the Haitians, for people coming from Mexico, for the people that are here already that contribute so much to our economy. And, it's paying into things you're not getting any benefit from, paying into Social Security that they will never see because they're not citizens. We have to do more for the dreamers and land the plane. So I totally agree with, what she's saying, that this is not acceptable. And even when Democrats take over, which we will do, we can't go back to business as usual. We have to take care of business quickly because you never know when you're going to be back in the minority again. I've been here almost 13 years and only been in the majority 4 of them.
Wow. Nana, thank you for that. I'm going to follow up with you later on. Thank you for joining us. And now we're switching over to Congresswoman Robin Kelly of Chicago. Thank you, Congresswoman.
Thank you.
Congresswoman, talk to me about what is going on with this articles of impeachment for Kristi Noem. I understand it's a growing list of sponsors and supporters to help you do this. It's one thing to impeach, though. You need a conviction. Do you think that you can impeach and get a conviction by you still being in the minority?
Well, that's why we're trying to grow the sponsorship. We're up to 110. So over half of the Democratic caucus has signed on, and there are other people, other members helping me, to get other people. So that's what we have to do first. It is a numbers game. But the thing is that she knows that it's happening, and she knows that we're watching, but more importantly, the American people are watching. And that's what she needs to be concerned about. They want her held accountable. If you look at polling, not that I always go by polling, but her numbers have dropped significantly because she is leading a reign of terror across the United States, of course, in blue cities and mostly blue states.
So this was all an outgrowth of Renee Good. You finally said enough is enough. And when Renee Good was killed in Minnesota, you said enough is just a mile from where George Floyd was killed. It's crazy. So
yeah, we've been working on it since October, though. And
really?
But we wanted to make sure our eyes were down because of what happened in Chicago. That was my district. The helicopter came, the apartment building doors were knocked in, kids and Black Americans and immigrants were hauled out in the dead of night and tied up. So that was in my district. The car accident where the 2 had to go to the hospital was in my district. Then, of course, Broadview and other parts of Chicago. So we have been working on it since then.
So let's talk about that because we have all eyes on Minnesota. The fight back seems to be really there right now. That's what we're seeing thanks to Don Lemon. I'm a supporter of what he did Sunday. But give us your eyes on the ground of what's still happening with ICE in Chicago? Because we don't know.
Right. People are afraid to send their kids to school. People are afraid to go to work. They're afraid to shop. They're afraid to go out to eat. So, Democrats are talking a lot about affordability. They're hurting the bottom line of everyday people. Americans are afraid too. You hear that in Minnesota, that Americans are afraid to come outside because they're just snatching people up. They don't know if you're a citizen or not. Like they drug the people out from the apartment building.
Yeah, businesses are even having an impact. Like you say, people don't want to come out. A lot of
Right.
businesses, a lot of mom and pop shops,
That's
small
right.
businesses are the engine of the economy. They're having a hard time because some of their workers may be or questionable, whatever, and people,
Mhm.
or they may be profiling you. So, guys, this is really serious. So, I also want to ask you something. What's going on with these appropriations votes? Because we only have a small window with you, and I'm so thankful that you came.
Well, I just voted no on the DHS appropriations. We just voted on everything just now. And so I voted no on the DHS appropriations. It still passed by some, but
Of course, it's Republican led, but go
it's
ahead.
going to the Senate.
Yeah.
And then and luckily they separated it from the bills that deal with like childcare and preemie care and those kind of things. There was still maybe some things in some of those bills that people didn't like, but
Mhm.
the bills that help the everyday people, those bills passed. They separated it out because it would have been horrible and they would have kept it all together.
So Congressman Bobby Scott had said he was upset. He was going to vote no because he was upset because they didn't have hearings on it. They just passed it through. Is that the way you felt too?
Right. I mean, I give Rosa DeLauro a lot of credit. She's ahead of our probes, but yeah, there were no hearings. There were just, discussions back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And we got some things in, and but with DHS, we could not give any more money to ICE. That was just the bottom line, for a lot of people. They already have received a lot of money, and the way she's spending the money, 200 million just on advertisement, to get more ICE workers, which a lot of us feel are the insurrectionists that Trump
Proud Boys, the
let
head of
out
the
of
Proud
jail.
Boys.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh my God.
yeah.
So do you think we're going to stave off another government shutdown by January 30th or?
It depends what happens in the Senate. We'll see. I'm hoping so. No one likes that, people won't get paid or our staff won't get paid. No one, wants to be a part of that or, people's pocketbooks being hurt. But we'll see. We'll see what, they're putting up. But the thing is, we got 17 of them to agree with us about the ACA tax credits. So this is what I want to tell people. Your voice matters. If
Mm.
you live in these red states or have a Republican representative, your voice matters. 17 of them agreed with us, and so people have to keep that up. People have to keep, raising their voices. You can't grow weary, you can't stay on the
Yeah.
sidelines.
Donald Trump watches, and we know that. Like today with Jack Smith, he was live tweeting, watching Jack Smith.
Hmm.
When the No Kings rally happened, he was highly upset. What kind of president will do some kind of avatar, put himself in a plane, King Trump, and then put feces all over demonstrators? Who does that?
Donald Trump.
That
Who
part.
give what president gives somebody the finger?
Come on. He said, F you, F you. I was like, George Bush never did that. Bill Clinton, I said, Barack Obama. I said, oh, that was
He's an
nasty.
embarrassment. And the thing, he went and removed Maduro, which no one thinks is a good president or was a good president. But someone, if we're going by that, someone could come remove his butt because he is not a good president and he doesn't care about the people.
The world does not like it. The UN, NATO, we in trouble. That's all I'm going to say. And the next thing, the last thing, because I know you, thank you for your time, and I know you
Oh,
have
you're
to run.
welcome.
But the SAVE Act, voter registration, depression scheme. What's the latest with that? Do you know?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the latest is. I know that we actually CBC just had I couldn't stay for the whole thing, but like a little summit
A
just
Congressional Black Caucus, CBC.
yeah,
Yes.
sorry, Congressional Black Caucus, just to keep us abreast and educated on the different things that who knows who is trying to do, from the, fair mapping, from what the Supreme Court is going to decide. We had Eric Holder, we had Janae Nelson from the NAACP, and then other people
Yes.
come too, because we're just trying to stay.
NAACP Legal Defense Fund.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
We're trying to stay abreast of the situation of what we need to do and be loud about it, because we want to make sure there are other elections and that people's rights aren't thwarted. And that's what they're trying to do with, just our basic civil rights and basic rights. This president is trying to take them all away. When Kristi Noem said that, people have to prove who they are, so you have to walk down the street with your birth certificate or your passport, absolutely ridiculous.
And lastly, on Kristi Noem, in this valiant effort that you're doing, someone said to me they think that your effort, just like it happened with Donald Trump, with Al Green trying to impeach Donald Trump, I think he's on his sixth time, the next one will be seventh. They said they don't think it's going to happen, but at least you're doing. What are your thoughts if you can't muster all the support that you need in efforts to impeach her?
I think thanks to all of you, so many of you, it has brought even more attention. And that I have heard from people from all over the United States, people crying on the phone, thanking us. And my other colleagues have heard from a lot of their constituents and beyond. So, I feel like we have to use every tool in the toolbox, and
That's
some
right.
tools will work, and we'll see. But it's bringing attention. She knows about it because she called it silly herself, But we cannot keep up with these Gestapo tactics that they're using. Is this America? So. We're going to keep pushing in every way that we can. Other people are working on other things, and we're going to keep pushing, and we'll see what happens.
Congresswoman Robin Kelly, thank you for having high tea with me.
Well, thank you, my dear.
I hope you come back again
I
because
will.
we need your voice. We need to know what's going on. We like when people tell the truth and shame the devil.
That's right. All right. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
And
Guys,
Happy New
that
Year.
was Chicago Congresswoman Robin Kelly. She is definitely working to impeach Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary. Kristi Noem! Oh, Lord. This has been simmering for a while, right? The Congresswoman said she started this in October, but, with all the immigration stuff simmering, but Renee Good, the death of Renee Good, the deadly shooting of Renee Good by an ICE officer in Minnesota made her move faster. And she's getting more sponsors and support. But remember, this is a Republican-led House. So we'll see. And remember what happened to Al Green. He's tried 6 times to impeach Donald Trump. But these efforts make a difference. She heard about it. Kristi Noem heard about it. Like the Congresswoman said. She said, Kristi Noem said it was silly. It's not silly. This is real. These are real people. And the Congresswoman also said, this isn't Russia, this isn't China. It's starting to feel like it. Freedom of democracy is challenged. Freedom of the press is challenged. This is still my country, and I'm going to fight. And let me tell you what Dr. King said. Make the comfortable uncomfortable. We are very uncomfortable in this moment. We are. I might be sipping tea, but this is to calm my nerves and my stomach. And I know you're doing some things to help yourself along the way. I want to go to the chat. Iris says, why hasn't all the Democratic caucus signed on? Why did they allow Al Green to keep going out 6 times to try to have impeachment and they haven't done anything? They didn't support it. Kay Bacon says, this is how civil wars start. What do we do? They will continue to attack blue states. We cannot feel safe anywhere. Let me tell you something. ICE is also in Arkansas. That's a red state. Well, right now it's a red state. It used to be purple. Bill Clinton was president. They had a couple Democratic governors out of there, but it's red right now with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. And but they have ICE there. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, remember her? She used to be the press secretary. Ooh, child. of the White at the White House for Donald Trump in the first term. Don says, bless your efforts to impeach Noem from California. Thank you, Don from California. Laura says, big business support and fund Trump. Boycott, money talks. It sure does. Money talks. Even those little pennies that, well, they don't make anymore that rub together, they add up to hundreds and thousands of dollars. Money does talk. You're absolutely right. Sheila says, disgusting. The Dems who voted for this to fund ICE. Child, I don't know what more to tell you. But I'm just saying this. We are in a time where your voice matters. That's why the contrarian is here. That's why we are formed. That's why we sip tea to give you information. That's why we have our reporters like Katie Fang out. She was out at the Supreme Court yesterday talking about Lisa Cook. How about that? The president doesn't like Lisa Cook. She's a Black woman. She's a Federal Reserve Board governor. The president doesn't like. It went to the Supreme Court yesterday. All of them talked about, including Clarence Thomas, Justice Clarence Thomas, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. All of them talked about it, but it looks like there may be a victory here. The victory could be actually the fact that she keeps her job. I want to, team, let's go to Katie Fang's piece real quick.
While I was inside the Supreme Court listening to the oral arguments, we actually had a number of Democratic members of Congress that came in front of the Supreme Court to be able to protest the fact that Donald Trump has been summarily exercising what he claims is his broad discretion to be able to remove people like Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. This is Congresswoman Joyce Beatty explaining why there's very real-world economic implications when you do something like Trump is doing. Take a listen to the sound that we got from Congresswoman Beatty.
So make no mistake, Trump's takeover of the Federal Reserve will negatively affect household finances, financial markets, and threaten Americans' retirement savings, mortgages, and housing costs. We will defend this independent Fed as a fundamental pillar of our economy, and we will fight for Dr. Governor Lisa Cook and Chairman Powell to serve out their term.
What does that tell you about why this case is so important? As you heard the Congresswoman say, and actually as we heard Justice Kavanaugh say, there are very real implications from having a president who is affecting, quote, shattering, according to Justice Kavanaugh, the independence of a Federal Reserve.
Guys, you know Katie Fang is a lawyer too, right? So she is everything and more. This is a potential victory. Think about that. That's a potential victory. Lisa Cook, a Black woman who serves on the Federal Reserve Board, is just being picked on because of what they want to put out there about some kind of mortgage issue. It's bullcrap. She's a Black woman. Let's call it that. Lisa Cook has had so many people support her. I mean, the high-ranking names. I mean, I've even heard, today I heard that Bernice King, the daughter of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., was in town yesterday at the Supreme Court to support her. So this thing is real. Donald Trump said on an interview with the New York Times, he said, look, he said, the civil rights movement hurt white people. So because it hurt white people, Lisa Cook, Tish James, Don Lemon, everybody is in his way. This country, again, is made up of what? Native Americans first. Native Americans, then migrants, and then slaves. And as Nana Gyamfi said, one of our earlier guests, he's got his family has on both sides are migrants to this nation. And Black folks actually were here longer than he was. Donald Trump, God bless you. He lives in his own world and his own reality, and there's nothing more I can say. Let's go to the chat real quick for the last time. Sandra says, ICE is a fascist organization. Abolish it. Again, members of the Proud Boys are there. The head of Proud Boys is in ICE. That's telling you something. Sarah says, loved Katie's on the ground reporting. Indeed. She gave it to us. Katie says Trump wants to control the interest rates. Very dangerous precedent. He wants to control everything. He wants every award. He wants every accolade. He wants to micromanage. He wants to own everything. I did this. I'm the one. Whatever. He might even want my 3 honorary doctorates. His grades weren't so good. Maybe he might need them. Ha ha ha. Okay, anyway. Laura says Kavanaugh must be worried about his money. Susan says hate never wins. Trump is consumed with it and looks it. There you go. You're absolutely right. Well, guys, we're 3 minutes out, 3 minutes before 6 o'clock. My team is like, I never end before 6 o'clock, but I'm gonna do it today, even if it's a minute before 6. I want you guys to be very careful this weekend. Here in my area, we got snow from Saturday to Monday. I'm prepared. Are you? Let me tell you, I went to the grocery store yesterday. I got my flu shot and my COVID shot. I was in the grocery store. You would have thought that everybody didn't have food in their house. People, the lines were long. Then at the gas stations, people were all around. I was like, what's going on? It's just snow. You're going to be in the house a little bit. But I want you to be careful. I got my generator. And guess what? I got a landline as well as a cell phone. So if the phone goes out, the electricity goes out, whatever, I'll just get in the car and charge it. Try to open the garage and just charge it. And what else? You have your snow boots. If you got a fireplace, cuddle with your husband or cuddle with that loved one. It's going to be cute time. Make some hot chocolate. It's going to be a cute time. But while it's a cute time, I want you to be careful. We understand that southern states are going to get ice. States that don't even deal with snow are going to get ice. Please be careful. Ice is nothing to play with. And even if you think you can shovel it, it's heavy. And for those of you here in this area, we're going to get snow in the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Supposedly we're going to get snow, but check your forecast, because I'm not a meteorologist, but check your forecast and be careful. I want to see you next Thursday. And also, before we go, don't forget to call us. I want to hear your voice. I want to hear what you got to say. 202-240-8617. 202-240-8617. Tell us what you think. And with that said, I got to go make my husband some dinner. See you later. Thanks for joining the Tea with April.